All right, let's chat about The Story of a Marriage by Sn Grr, who this is an earlier novel by him. I think this is his first novel, 2008. I came to him through Less, which it's worth talking about Less, which he won the Pulitzer Prize for, because the first time I read that book, I was slightly irritated by it. I thought it was pushing a certain agenda of kind of a hard done by white cis gay guy who just was a writer and wasn't being shown the love in awards and kind of recognition. And yeah, it was. I thought it was being self-pitying, but actually, as you kind of go, as I thought about it more, and I listened, more importantly, I listened to other people's reviews of it after, realized it was actually probably going with a more subversive idea of the idea of what recognition and cultural space, and like, you know, that we're given, everyone's given kind of a certain kind of cultural space, and, you know, turns are taken, and people might not like that because they're looking for literary awards for strictly literary recognition. But I think there could be a good argument to say that that's never actually been the case. It's always been more of a there's been more of a political, not like political as in politics, but more of a political society kind of function of awards. And that, you know, deciding what a culture values and what a culture is valuing at a certain moment, and, you know, time being the arbiter of what we end up valuing as we go along. This has turned into a long talk about Less instead of Story of a Marriage. Maybe this little video here is actually just me talking about how I've decided to go back in Sn Grr in honor of the fact that there's going to be more Less coming out. A sequel to the original Less novel, which I can't remember the title of. Maybe it's More Less, or Less is More, is coming out here. I'm just going to pause for a second. Dangers of recording in a city with all the buses and trucks and all the other large amounts of noise. But yeah, I decided I'd go back and I'd try some of his other books, and indeed doing a story of a marriage, kind of, I'm starting to see a bit of a pattern here of how Greer likes to play with the reader, because the Story of a Marriage is very much about playing with the reader. It'll be I'm gonna read or actually probably listen to a bunch of his novels leading up to the release of the sequel, including rereading Less itself. So yeah, that's my project here. Let's stop and start again and try and just talk about the story of a marriage. I think it's The Story of a Marriage. All right, I'll be back with that in a second.